is, y'all, and you know what it is. Thanks for tuning back in here to another episode here on the Speedbug channel. Appreciate all the comments, appreciate the love, appreciate the hate, and I ain't playing. I appreciate the hate just as much as I appreciate the love. The love a little bit more though. But anyway, let's jump into it here. We starting the vlog today with more Ducati content. Y'all asked for it, y'all gonna get it. I'm gonna give it to you. We are going to talk a little bit about the features and the new features that are new to me, but new to y'all because y'all haven't seen this video, and just the features that come on the bike. Let's look at the display. When you turn the bike on, of course, y'all get that gorgeous display, right? Show right up in there. Y'all can see that. I actually had it in race mode. All right. So I wanted to go through a little bit and show you all, guys and girls, about some of the features that come into the display. So right now, as you can see, the display is black because it's a little bit darker in my garage, even with all these damn lights. The bike has an auto sensor to know whether it's light or dark outside, and it changes the gauge cluster. So the gauge cluster will then, during the daytime and when you're outside, it will become a white background, and then all the letters will be black, and then vice versa at night. It also automatically adjusts the daytime running lights so that you have just the daytime running lights on during the day, and then at nighttime it will turn the one individual headlight on, and the second one will turn on once you turn the high beam on or flicker the high beam. But let's start by going through some of the features. So you got some of the things, oh, wrong one. So we'll jump on the left-hand side to show you some of the trip features and everything like that. So of course you got your temperature up top. In race mode, you got your lap timer that most bikes have. You got your clock showing you your ABS, your launch control, wheelie control, your neutral light, your oil light. Then you have your temperature for the outside air, that it tells you the outside air. Your trip, consistent miles per gallon, lap timer if you have it on, settings menu, your total odometer. I guess I got 230 miles on this thing. I need to ride this sumbitch more. Ha! Trip 1, consistent average. Damn, that's pretty good. And then my average speed. Let me get a little closer if you guys can't see that. Hopefully that's a little bit better. There's a glare. Let me see if I can back up. All right, sorry about that. Just some basic information that it gives you when you're on the bike and as you start the bike. To the right, well, before we go there, if you hold this mode button, you get a bunch of menus showing you race, sport, street, exit, so on and so forth. Engine high tells you the current output for the amount of power you want the engine to have an output as. So right now in race mode, obviously it's going to be set to high. You have DTC1, that stands for Ducati Traction Control, and you have multiple variations of settings. I believe it's 1 through 8. I'd have to check the manual. ABS, pretty self-explanatory. I know you have 1, 2, and off in race mode. Off, you can turn the front and the back off. DWC, that's Ducati Wheelie Control. Ducati Wheelie Control, obviously that's pretty self-explanatory. When you jump on it, you know, with this much power or anything like that, you know, in my little feather light ass riding this thing, the front tire wants to come up pretty easy. So depending on the variation that you set the wheelie control and how intrusive you want it, I believe that is also a 1 through 8 or off. DSC, Ducati Stability Control. Same thing here. The stability control, that kind of goes along with the traction control and allows the bike, you know, whether to skid a lot, but basically, you know, the stability control that's going to go along with the motorcycle, and depending on how intrusive you want that, 1 through 8. EBC, engine brake control. This thing is actually pretty cool, and depending on how intrusive you want this one as well, you change that with the other selection buttons over here so that you can figure out how intrusive you want that setting. And when you are riding this motorcycle, when you're revving it up high, you know, I'm not talking about that city ride, and when it's up high and you want this thing to calm down, it really controls a lot of the wheel chatter when you're downshifting with the quick shifter. So when you're doing, let's say, I don't know, 100 miles an hour, and you drop this thing from 6th gear to 3rd gear, and let the clutch out, or don't use the clutch because you're using the quick shifter, the RPMs are going to rise a lot and it's going to want to make the back chatter. This will eliminate a lot of that or all of that due to the slipper clutch and the electronics that are attached to the transmission with the clutch as well. And again, depending on how intrusive you want it, that's what that setting goes into. DQS, quick shift up or down. That's pretty self-explanatory. Do you want to enable the quick shifter for up or down? As you move into sport or street or any of the other modes, you can change a lot of these settings. So in sport, I have it set right now to be rather intrusive for the traction control, the ABS, the wheelie control, so on and so forth for riding on the street. So, and also the throttle becomes a little bit less, how would I say, sensitive is the word I was looking for. So in race mode, obviously it's the most sensitive. You get all the power, you get all the beans, you're getting ready for the racetrack, going to use the drift mode and such and so forth, and I'll cover that as well. Drift mode is probably my most favorite thing on the motorcycle. Engine brake control, quick shift up or down, again, you can turn it on, off, so on and so forth. Drift mode. Now, if you're a good rider and you go around the corner and stuff like that, you could drift your motorcycle. It doesn't have to be a Ducati. It could be an S1000. It could be the Ground. It could be your Cruiser if you're good enough. But this one, it's got electronics to do it pretty much automatically. So when you put it in the correct ABS mode, you're in the right mode on here, which you have to be in race mode, the correct mode, and it'll shut the ABS off solely for the back. When it shuts the ABS off for the back, it allows you to lock up that back tire, but it still won't allow you to lock up the front tire because the ABS is still on. So when you really jam on that front brake, the pitch angle sensors and everything will kick in. And I encourage everyone to read up about this because it's pretty cool. I'm not going to sit here and bore you and elaborate to you on exactly everything, how it works. I'm just going to tell you how to do it. And I'm going to post a quick little video shortly after I'm done explaining it, showing you a little bit of a drift. So you just you slam on the front brake, the ABS is kicking in, the ass of the bike wants to come up, the pitch angle sensors, level out the bike, and you're sliding with the back tire. Now what it does, it allows you to drift the bike out and tilt the ass of the bike out up to 21 degrees while drifting and locking or having the back tire chatter or not not chatter as much, excuse me. And when you do it, you can lean it, stand it up straight, go the other way. And when you let go of the brakes and go back and roll back into the throttle, it all comes back in seamlessly. It's pretty cool. Check it out. But when you want the bike to be not so intrusive, it rides decently well. And there's a big difference, believe it or not, riding from the street mode to the race mode. And most of the time I find myself on the street riding it in the more docile mode because the throttle is just so much less, sensitive, and it becomes a lot easier to ride, just to say the least, where it's not that it's not fun to ride it on the street in race mode, but when you find yourself in a lot of stop and go traffic, you'll give it just a little bit and it wants to pull you off the handlebars. And yeah, that's fun and I love it, but that shit gets old after a while. So you get to move it just a little bit more and you can ease into it a little bit more. But then when you want to get ready to go, a couple clicks of the buttons and you're already back and rolling in business and you're at full power and whatever settings that you wanted it to be at from the last time. And that's a wonderful thing that I really love about the Ducati because based on per mode, it has a memory. And all those features that I just showed you, and as we're here in race mode, I could show you here, when you're over here, over here, this is where you actually switch it. It's like here's your traction control and you can switch how intrusive that you want it and it adjusts, on the fly. You don't have to stop the bike or anything like that to adjust any of the settings, and it remembers it. So if that's what it was at the track, that's what it was when you were riding around, racing, doing whatever it was, and then you switch it back to street when you want to ride home, it remembers it and you just flip it right back to it. It's like having, a couple bikes in one, which I really do like that. Now the BMW, it has something very similar to that, but this bike is also 3 years newer than my BMW, and you can kind of customize it a little bit more. Again, I didn't get the electric suspension on this versus my BMW does have that. So the suspension is a lot more adjustable than the standard suspension that I got on this Ducati. So a lot of the riding modes and stuff like that, it's a different type of adjustability that I can do with that versus the BMW, which I like, and that's exactly how I want it because I use that bike to race and I use this one to ride around more on the street. So let's jump into some further settings here about the Ducati. We're going to go into the settings menu of the bike, and you can actually further customize those riding modes a little bit more. And it'll also just show you some of the other settings, like you can change some of the metrics and things like that that you, of course, you would love to see on your own bike, depending on if you're in the States, if you're in Canada, overseas, so on and so forth. So let me show you that. So as you jump in here on the settings menu, you know, moving over, you'll go into enter. I was already in riding mode. Perfect. You have riding mode, of course. Let me get closer so you guys can see that. Get rid of that glare. Let me see if I can back out of it just a little bit. There we go. Riding mode, your pin code, your lap counter, your backlight, your date clock, units, service, tire calibration, daytime running lights, your turn signal indicators, and info, anything about your bike. So your battery, your RPM, you know, what's going on if you want to see that. Turn signal indicators, auto, manual. Turn signal indicators is actually really cool. It's no legendary technology or anything like that. You know, Cruisers and Goldwings, Harleys, they've had them for years, maybe 10 to 20 years, you know, before. But I think it's one of the first sport bikes or super bikes to actually have that, where you turn the turn signal on and when you lean and come back up, it actually shuts off. So it's kind of nice actually for a sport bike. Nothing crazy, no new technology or anything like that, but just kind of cool to have finally on a sport bike. Your daytime running lights, I don't really need to go into that. It just kind of shows you do you want them on or off. Your tire calibration, whether you need to start that, you know, to figure out where the air pressure is right, you know, is the front and the back and the front. I hope no one really messes that up. Your service. Tells you your service interval. That's one of the cool things about this bike, is that Ducati promises that it's a 7,500 mile first service, which is pretty crazy compared to some of the other service intervals that the Ducati 1199 and 1299 would actually give you. So it's pretty remarkable, and they do promise way less service, longer service intervals with the V4 rather than the other V-twin bikes. So we'll see if that's true, and hopefully mine doesn't blow up and take a shit, but I guess that's what a warranty's for, right? Your units, speed, kilometers, miles per hour, temperature, you know, your consumption, liters, you know, US metrics, date clock, so on and so forth, your backlight, how bright do you want it, how auto, not, your lap timer, how you want that to display, you know, how you activate it, so on and so forth. I'm not going to go through all this and bore all of you all with this. Pin code to maybe lock out some of your settings. And, of course, your riding mode. Now, this is the mode that I think is actually pretty cool and some of the further settings that you can actually do. So let me go into, let's do sport, and we can actually see some of the differences in how you can actually change this. In sport, you click enter and you go into it. You have DABC, engine, ABS, EBC, you know, DQS, you know, so on and so forth. Pretty much all the modes that you saw before. So let's click engine to start. This is where you actually change the mode for the engine as far as the power output of what you want it to be within that mode when you're selecting it in your street race or sport mode when you're riding. You can reduced power, full power, high power. And you can see some of the modes that it changes. So I thought that was pretty cool. Your ABS, you know, 3, 2, 1, so on and so forth. And your brake control, your max brake, minimum brake. It just kind of shows you how intrusive it is. How you want that to be, your quick shift up and down, or do you not want it on at all? I don't know why you wouldn't want that on. Your info mode, road, and so on and so forth. So, depending on what you want each one to be, you can kind of really tune how you want to ride this bike, whether it's going around the racetrack, riding around on the street. It really makes it enjoyable to ride as far as bike, and it gives you a lot of customization, which that I really liked, and I thought that was really good that Ducati did with this bike. And I know some of these features were on other Ducatis, and a lot of these features are on a lot of other bikes, but it's actually nice to have it all in one. I know we all want that 1-2 bike that's super comfortable that we could ride across, country like a Goldwing, but have the speed and the agility of a crotch rocket, have the fuel mileage of a Prius, and have no payments on it, just have the whole package. But of course we all know that'll never happen, and we can never get all of that in one package. But Ducati packed a lot of punch into this, and I am really taking a like to it. And as you ride it around and drive it around the street, you test it out of the modes, you check what the engine braking's like, the wheelie control, the drift mode, and so on and so forth. And I'm really taking a like to it, and I think they're onto a home run. So looking at a lot of the other bikes and a lot of the the features that this has to offer, but looking at this bike specifically, it has, for what it costs, we all know it's a Ducati. It's not the cheapest bike. If you want a cheaper bike, you probably want to get one of the Japanese Big Four. And not to discredit any of them, they are kick-ass bikes, and I would still buy another one in a heartbeat. But for what you get with this bike, for the amount of money and the customization that you actually get, let me turn my off here. I don't want my battery to die. I really think it's a good value for what it is. Over $20,000, for a motorcycle is a substantial amount of money, because a lot of cars don't even cost that. But when you see the technology and the things that you can do, and some of the new aids and things like that, like especially like rain mode in the BMW, which was, I don't want to say like legendary, but groundbreaking or earth-shattering. Just the new advances of traction control versus when it first came out on motorcycles. It's really, really, really come a long way, and Ducati is really making it happen with their version and their features that they've put on their bike. So I'm really taking a like to it, and I think overall it's a extremely well buy, extremely good buy. It's priced just right, and if you upgrade it and get the Owen suspension, the S model with the electric suspension. And I know you can do all of that, plus tune the suspension exactly how you can tune the suspension on the BMW, if not more, if not better. So if you're in the market for one, just pick out the right bike, pick out the right, Panigale V4, whatever it is the one that fits your application the best. This one fit my application the best. Had nothing to do with money, but this one fit my application the best. So again, buy what you like. Don't worry about what other people think or anything like that. Buy what you like, buy what you love, as I said that in one of my other videos. So again, I think that's it. So I wanted to share that and show you all that. I know y'all wanted to see some more Ducati content. Again, if you like what you saw, don't forget to subscribe. We're going to have some more Ducati content. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram if you want to see further and future posts, before they come out on YouTube. You can follow me on Instagram at Speedbug, same name as YouTube, and we will see you here for another episode here on the Speedbug channel. Deuces.